Hey everyone, today I'm going to be showing you how to purchase a membership NFT using Unlock Protocol and Ethers.js. Now, this is a sequel to the previous video about how to deploy a membership smart contract using Unlock Protocol and Ethers.js. So if you haven't seen that already, I do recommend you go check that out. You can find all the package and repository links in the description down below, along with some additional resources I think you might find handy. So, without further ado, let's dive right in. Just a quick recap of our files in the project. We've got a wallet info.json, we've got a little readme over here, and the purchase membership.js, which is the main entry point. So, I'm going to click right in, and just a quick overview of what we've got here. At the top, we bring in the Ethers.js library, and then we bring in the unlock protocol smart contract ABI right here, and we bring in our wallet over here, which we're going to use to sign transactions. So we go ahead and define a purchase membership function, and right at the bottom we call that function. So inside of this function we define the provider, which we get from Infura, and we bring in our private key from the wallet here, and we use that to create a new wallet over here at the bottom. We pass in the private key and the provider, and once that's done we use the new wallet to define a signer, which we're going to use to instantiate a new public law contract. But before that, we're going to get the address of the membership smart contract that we deployed, and the one or the smart contract that we're trying to make a purchase. So we grab that address and we save it in this variable lock address. So we're going to use that to instantiate a new public lock smart contract, and we do that by passing this new keyword with ethers.contract function, and in that function we're going to pass in the lock address with the specific public lock ABI we're trying to interact with. And right here we're using the version 12, which is like the latest version. So you can actually use different versions. So if you were to take this out and you go public lock, you would find there's a lot of versions here, and you ideally want to use the latest version, except you have a really good reason to use an older version. So once you have that, you're gonna pass the signer, and that's how you instantiate the co- the contract. So once you got that down, next thing we have this little comment over here, which is the purchase token address. So I'm gonna comment that back because we don't actually use it here. So usually we've got locks being priced in different ERC20 tokens, or it could be priced in ETH. And so the way you know what currency the lock is priced in is by calling on this function right here. So if it returns its zero address, then it's priced in ETH. Otherwise, it's going to return the ERC20 token address. So the next thing we want to do, we want to grab the amount it costs to actually purchase the lock. So we're going to get that straight from the smart contract by calling on this key price function. So once that's done, we want to define the arguments that we're going to pass to the purchase function to purchase our membership NFT right here. So we define this purchase params variable, and it's an array that contains a bunch of other arrays. So these are actually the arguments we pass into the function. The first thing is the amount, and the next is the recipient of the lock we're trying to purchase, or the recipient of the key we're trying to purchase from that lock. So ideally, if you were building a dApp, you would grab the user's address and pass it in right here. But for the purpose of this tutorial, we're going to use our own address. And the next thing you want to do is you want to pass in the referrals address. Now, this is the person that's going to get the UDT whenever there's a purchase on mainnet, or you know, any of the live networks, not the test net. So we actually want to pass in our address here. And if you had a DApp as well, you were building a DApp, you would still want to pass in your address here, while this would be the user's address right here. So the next thing you want to do is pass in the lock manager's address. So we're going to leave that as the 0 address. So it's going to default to the person who's purchasing the locks. That's going to be the lock manager. And the last but not least is the additional data. And for this, you want to pass in an empty array. And you want to be careful to pass it in like this, not, an empty array like this. You want to pass in an empty array into the array like that. Else the transaction is going to fail. So you want to be careful with that. Take note of that. So the next thing you want to do is define the options for the transaction. Now, usually, if you're interacting with a lock that's priced in ETH, you are going to be required to transfer value if the lock's not free. So if the lock has a price of, 0.1 or 0.01 ETH, then that's going to be passed in as the message.value. So this is how you pass that in right here. So if it were to be an ERC20 lock, the lock was priced in an ERC20, you could actually pass in 0 here and go ahead and pass that into the function. But since we're actually interacting with a lock that's priced in ETH, then we're going to leave that like that. And this next parameter here for the this next property is for actually setting the gas limit manually. Usually you might want to comment this if you want the transaction to handle the gas limit, but I'm gonna actually leave that like this. So if you wanted to set the gas limit manually, this is how you do it right here, still in this options object. And once that's done, you basically are ready to call the function to purchase the NFT membership. So how you do that, you go ahead and define this transaction variable right here, and you assign it to this, which is you call on the public lock contract we instantiated, and you call the purchase function, and you pass in the parameters right here, and we use the spread operator to actually copy this. So if you were to take this out like this, if you took it out, you would basically be passing a reference to that right here. So we don't want that. We actually want to copy that array. So we're gonna undo that, and we pass in the options. And once that's done, we go ahead and do a bunch of console logging right here. We just log the key price so we can actually see what's going on with the transaction, and we grab the transaction hash, and we also define a receipt, and we log that receipt to the console. So let's go ahead and try that out. Hit enter, and we're gonna wait for a bit. All right, great. So it logs the price of the key to the console and the transaction hash. So we just gotta wait for the transaction to get done so we can grab the receipt. Sometimes it takes a minute, so gonna have to wait. Boom, that's it right there. So the transaction's successful. We grab the receipt, and that's how you purchase a membership NFT using Unlock Protocol and Ethers.js. Now, I'd love your feedback in this comment section about the video. So let us know what you liked or didn't like. Also, what other topics would you like to see? Leave them in the comment section. And that's all I got for you for today. See you next time.